these post-credit scenes, starting with you, Amanda. Your take on the first one. We see Monica. She meets a random scroll. I don't know who the hell that scroll was. I thought it would have been better to be that friend that she met at Captain Marvel, the first one, or it could have been Thomas or someone.
The kid.
Yeah, I think it is the kid. I think it is her.
But didn't she act like she didn't know her though?
No.
If I got to rewrite, I could have sworn she was just like
feel familiar.
Yeah, it just feel like.
Oh, you mean like her like human form or whatever?
No, like the scroll street. I didn't think that she knew her at all. Yeah, that
Monica was like, who the fuck is this person?
Yeah,
I guess I just assumed it would be her because that would make sense.
Yeah, that's what I would think, right? But the whole thing is a setup for her going into space. I assume when she said she was referring to Nick Fury, but it could be someone else. We'll see. But your take on this first post-credit scene, Amanda, before we dive into the second one.
Like at first I was like, oh, this is so underwhelming. But then you're like, I feel like everyone's looking at it on a grander scale. Like it has to connect to the rest of the MCU and feel like a big post-credit scene as we got in other MCU films. But for a television series, I feel like this suited it a bit more. And a scroll is like where it's connected to like Secret Invasion. It could be connected to like literally any other show, any other movie as we've seen. So I feel like it does fit in regards to Monica as well. And I'm happy like that interaction happened because again, it makes sense. So I do think that it could be Nick Fury. It could be someone else, you know, like you said. So I think that it did work after I thought about it, or else I was low-key underwhelmed the first time I watched it. So.
Chris, man, your take on this this scroll coming in and let her know that she's off to space to see whoever this person is.
It's not an air scientist, that's for sure.
Yeah, sure it's not. It's not. It's, you know how I feel. I understand the Monica love. They don't do her right, and they did. This scene was nonsense. It's like you went inside to tell me that we're going outside. Like you went inside a movie theater to point up at the ceiling of the movie theater, indicating space. You could have just went outside to the little corner or something and be like, "Hey, space." It's like nonsense, and to me, it's like kind of like a redo of like one of the last post-credit scenes we've seen with Fury with the Skrulls in space. So it's like, we're just doing it again. Like we could have guessed that that's what would have happened. So like the post-credit scenes in the history, they've been kind of like, oh wow, yeah, what a nice little touch. I didn't think about that. This one seemed like it was kind of obvious. And like thankfully we got another one. But if that was the last one, oh my god.
And that would have been a bad look. But Zach, man, your take on this first post-credit scene setting up Captain Marvel 2?
I kind of was like, okay. Like, I literally started fast forward. I'm like, there gotta be one more fucking post-credit scene. This cannot be the last thing that I see from this show. Throwing in, though, I think it would have worked better if they literally just had Brie Larson or someone show up. I honestly don't get the point of why not. Like, you're going to tell me, I get COVID and everything, but you're going to tell me you can't just have someone show up that could have just shown up, you know? Like Brie Larson, for me, I feel, but even with her, I feel like she's someone that would have just done it for a cup of coffee, honestly. Like, she loves the character so much. But nitpick aside, when they say he, I actually took that as Captain Marvel, because when she mentioned the scientist or engineer, she said he, and it turned out to be a female. So I'm taking it as
was it even confirmed that that woman was the engineer?
Yeah,
it never was.
So.
I don't know. Yeah,
I'm still taking it as it is, because
yeah.
It wasn't Reed Richards.
Of all the theories, like if it's not Nick Fury, then we have to really stop, because then we can't do with this.
I think it's Captain Marvel. I think because how long does WandaVision take place after the blip?
It's like 3 weeks.
Okay, so in that time period, wherever Captain Marvel's at in the world at that point, she probably flew to go check something else out. Sure, she's like, oh well, shit, what about Monica? You know what I mean? I would imagine let's get her up in space. You know, they're all watching her too.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's
especially
the way
since she has powers now.
Yeah, but
what I would have done to make it. So go ahead, Zach.
No, I was just gonna say it could have been better. It felt like Far From Home. It really did. I don't even think we needed it, to be honest. I felt like it was more, hey, don't forget Captain Marvel 2 next year.
Right.
Yeah, we didn't need it. We didn't need it. But if they want to do a scene, like what would have been even better is that you already know that you're seeing, you fast forward and like then she's in space with Skrulls. and she's talking. Maybe she's talking to Fury, and then Fury's talking to someone. Then like this, it spins around, and it's Captain Marvel, and she's face to face with this girl that she's been talking about beefing with in the whole show, and then it ends, and then it's like, okay, cool, got that. Like this whole pre thing is like it's nonsense. So if they're gonna do it, just do it. Like just bring her there.
Ultron end credit scene when I'll do it myself. Well, bitch, what the fuck do you mean you do it yourself? Because I don't know what you mean by that. Like it was just felt like it was an end credit scene to have an end credit scene.
Yeah,
it could have. Like that point, that would have been really cool if she would have brought her in the theater and she said, "I have someone that wants to see you," and then it would have been Brie Larson walking from the shadows, being like, "Hi," obviously, like you just said, Chris, they have that animosity of her being on planet wherever, and her mom died on Earth, so she definitely is probably upset with that. So that would have probably been a little bit cool, or she could have just gave her, which would have been so cool for a callback for Infinity War. She could give her the pager and be like, "Hey, got this for you," but Tessa, your take on this first post-credit scene in regards to setting up Monica Rambeau for future Captain Marvel 2?
So usually when there's two end credit scenes amid in it, one of them is stupid. That's just usually what, like, it's like an ant playing the drums. It's always something dumb that you're just like,
but it's usually the last one is the worst.
It is usually the last one.
Yeah.
So that made me nervous at first.
Yeah.
For me, I love the Skrulls. So like Secret Invasion has been the thing I've been waiting for forever. I literally cried when they announced Secret Invasion. Like the Skrulls are my jam. I love them because they can literally be anyone. So I was just excited to see a Skrull again. I was like, yeah, Skrull. I immediately thought Talos when they said he. And then later on, I'm like, well, Nick Fury. Okay, makes more sense because Talos is probably still on Earth, especially since Far From Home is. I always forget that Far From Home is after.
Yeah, it's like 8 months.
It's like way later. I'm thrown off by that. But I wouldn't think Captain Marvel just because. Like, I feel like they mentioned Captain Marvel. She was not very happy when they mentioned Captain Marvel to her. So I can't imagine a good draw to her is, hey, Captain Marvel wants to talk to you. She's probably like, well, screw you, Captain Marvel. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessary. It was kind of silly, but I was just happy to see a Skrull. But it definitely could have been better. I think money has a lot to do with it. They're not going to bring in Brie Larson or anyone because they've already used their budget with all these fights that we saw. So just, if we're going to throw a Skrull that says he, and we all have to theorize for a year on who that is, or even longer than a year. Again, I mean, fingers crossed that, with the crossover of Miss Marvel, we see later this year, maybe we see Monica Rambeau later on. And it'll be so interesting to see again, when Falcon and Winter Soldier comes out, what's the timeline in that? What's the low-key timeline? How far are we? Exactly. Yes. I'm just so curious on how they are going to tie all this as far as timeline goes. But
I feel like Falcon's I want to say Falcon's after Far From Home.
You think that's that far? Well, maybe.
I'm trying to think.
Maybe a little bit before. I don't know. I just I maybe they'll retcon the time stuff again. I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. Don't guess. That's the best way to be right. Yeah. I think it occurs at some point in the MCU. That's what I think.
Yeah. But I think we can all agree that the second post-credit scene was a little bit more of an exciting teaser of sorts, as we see, which we talked about it when we did the watch along last night. Yeah, I thought it was. I don't know, man. I might be wrong about this, but I felt like that scene felt so more cinematic than anything else that we've seen on WandaVision, that it can literally be a scene in a film, whether it be Doctor Strange 2, and that's how they open the film, or it's like very similar to, I don't know if you guys remember in Civil War, the scene that was in when Cap sees Bucky and he's tied against whatever he's tied against. That scene was in Ant-Man, right? So I think they could do something like that, where this scene, for someone that didn't see WandaVision, they can go into a theater and be like, oh, she's upset because the last time we saw her in Endgame, she was at a funeral.
That's a great theory, because I won't be surprised if we hear that in the next week when, the next round of interviews come out with Kevin Feige and Jack and everyone else involved with the show. That's actually a really great theory, because it would make sense even for that. Like if that's the opening scene or something of that nature.
Yeah, so that would make sense.
And it ties into the show, again, like, oh, I can watch, this was in the show, I can go watch it. But yeah, I felt it was just so cinematic. But Amanda, just your take on seeing Wanda, again, more powers in the Sorcerer Supreme, as she has her body doing stuff around the house. And we see that she's studying that book, and she's probably reading a chapter about herself, but also reading some other chapters. But more importantly, as she's reading this book, we hear a kid scream and say, Mom. So your take on this post-credit scene and what it could potentially mean for Miss Scarlet Witch?
It was great. I love seeing her like that. Like this image right here is just, it's so wicked. I did think that Doctor Strange was going to pop up because it just felt like he would have in that case.
Yeah.
But I do think that the kids are stuck somewhere. And I said this yesterday, that Doctor Strange knows how to get the kids out. And then that's how like Wanda kind of ties into Doctor Strange too. It's a possibility. Again, no more theorizing ever again. But like that's kind of how I feel. So I think it has to tie in to Doctor Strange definitely with that. And I love that she's like reading everything. I'm pretty sure she's gonna know a little bit more about everybody and everything that exists in the MCU. So she's gonna be trouble. Like it's just not gonna stop at like Doctor Strange. Like she's gonna have she's going to have a great arc going forward.
I think you're right. And again, going back to just what makes a villain so interesting is they think that they're right. So again, if she is somewhat of a villain, Doctor Strange too, she has this book of the Damned and she has powers that are meant to destroy the world. So Doctor Strange, that again, I can see that's where the conflict is. But Chris, your take on this this studying of books, man. Is that how you read books? Do you float in the air while cleaning up the house and your house phone's ringing and all that stuff? How do you handle that, my friend?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't do a lot of reading. there's too much stuff on TV. But how do I feel about this scene?
Yeah.
First of all, they didn't tell us that we were gonna get end credit scenes in the last couple episodes. Luckily, I just kept it on because there's no precedent for it. So I just luckily was able to turn it on. Yep. So I see the scroll scene. I'm like, oh god. I get up. But I leave it running. I just like walk around the house and then I just hear like some cinematic music and I like literally just start running back. I was like, what the hell?
Quicksilver.
I was like Quicksilver. But how do I feel about this scene? I thought it's much better. So because it was the last credit scene, like I knew there wouldn't be like any huge name on it because I'm like they're not gonna just throw Doctor Strange at the end of this after 2 credits. Like they're not gonna just shove him in there. But I was happy to see more content. And then it just had that real Doctor Strange feel. So I'm like, all right, this is cool. But then I got depressed because it's so far away when we'll see this come to fruition. But good scene. I said it last night. I don't know when they move to these recluse locations, I don't know how they get groceries. I thought about that the whole time. Like, where is this tea coming from? Like, is there a Target there? I know that she's not shopping. Like, what are you doing for fun?
Yeah, she needs some isolation. Darkhold, apparently. Yeah, exactly. The Darkhold has some recipes to make tea out of thin air.
That fucking Hello Fresh.
Do they deliver all the way out there?
Yeah, Postmates definitely delivered out there. Zach, your take on this second post-credit scene and in regards to the moment, but also the implications of the kids screaming for help. Is this Wanda searching for her kids in the multiverse and she's ripping the reality of doing so? Again, she's putting not herself first, but she's kind of headstrong and very emotional, and she wants her kids, and she's gonna mess up some things in doing so.
There's a lot of theories that we can say. First off, real fast, I do have to say I have to go pick up my sister right after I'm done talking. So sure, just a heads up on that because she's getting off work soon. This end credit scene was horrifying. I got some horror vibes from it, and that's why when you said that maybe it is from Doctor Strange, I was like, kind of does feel like a Sam Raimi scene. It feels like something that Sam Raimi would have his hands on, especially with the panning of the shot and the way that they panned it. It is something that, is kind of a staple of his. For me, though, again, I'm trying not to theorize anymore. I saw one person's theory. He goes, if those kids ain't screaming, because the kids, I get why people did think Mephisto was going to show up because those kids are so intertwined with him in the comic books. I mean, so heavily intertwined. So are they screaming for help because maybe Mephisto has them now? We don't know. Does she make a deal with the devil? Is that what happens? And the whole multiverse explodes. I think it's more of, she probably is ripping it apart, looking to see how she can save her kids, and Doctor Strange and her are gonna have to put it back together in some way, shape, or form. Or maybe they're chasing. Maybe Doctor Strange is trying to stop Mephisto or some other entity from coming back to life. Maybe Dormammu. Maybe Dormammu's the main villain for the next one. We saw him already in the first one. We could see him again. Yeah. I think there is things that, and now he doesn't have the time stone, so he can't just manipulate time to keep replaying it. So there are altercations that come into that. Yeah. I love the last scene. I think it sets it up perfectly. And it also shows that she is stronger than the Sorcerer Supreme, because when Doctor Strange does that, his body just lays on the floor. just lays there. Her, she's eating, cooking, cleaning,
full
doing
function.
everything. I'm watching the Stranger Things season 4 already. Like, who knows?
Yeah.
Like,
Hey, she has her powers on autopilot. But Zach, man, before you head out, my friend, again,